What's going on, guys? Commander here, and welcome to a new video on Halo Infinite. So, on Sunday at E3, we got another glimpse at Halo Infinite, and what the team at 343 Industries have been working on since the campaign reveal in July last year. First of all, I want to say that this reveal has left more of an impact on me and created more hype for me than any other game I've ever played. When I first saw the campaign trailer, my first thought was, oh my god, this actually looks Halo. And then we saw the multiplayer reveal and it just tops it off with all of the hype. So this video will be split into three parts. The first is going to be going over the campaign. The second is going to be going over the multiplayer. And then the third part will be going over any extras in the blog post that was released afterwards. And it has some little details in it that I want to go over as well. So first of all, the campaign. Instantly we are greeted with a small glimpse at Zeta Halo, with a lot of concept art that we've seen in the past now being shown in-game, like the Banner Strongholds, as well as what looks like UNSC Foundry, which we haven't actually seen yet, but it is still really good to see it there. This definitely looks way better than what we saw in July last year, and just from this video alone, this little clip, you can see that instantly. However, it is kind of hard to tell at a distance though. Watching this in 4K, the rocks do look a little unnaturally blended together and the texture normals do look a little bit flat. However, because this is such a long shot, a long distance shot, it's kind of hard to tell, so I'm not going to be judging it just off of that. Now, I do want to make the point here that I am judging the looks of this game based upon Halo 2 Anniversary, because in my opinion, that game is one of the most beautiful looking Halo games of all time. And even 6 years later, it still looks like a current gen game. I will be taking elements of Halo Wars 2 as well, because the cutscenes of that game are really beautiful as well. However, I cannot compare elements of the gameplay because it's not fair. It's not a fair comparison due to Halo Wars 2 being an RTS, not an FPS. We also get shots of Marines and banished forces walk around in their respective areas. The Marines are holding a variety of weapons such as an AR and a Bulldog, and there is a weapons crate and a mongoose, which that looks like what is on is a turntable of some description. Now, my guess is that these areas are going to work as resupply points, and considering they're close to banished forces, maybe there is a mission objective that you go to resupply before heading to a mission, possibly. Now, as the camera pans, we get to see the hex walls, as 343 are calling them. However, this time they actually are integrated really nicely into the environment, and actually look like Halo is breaking apart into the environment, rather than breaking into segments like we saw in July last year. They look more metallic and realistic as well, rather than what we saw before, which looked like blocks of Lego. Now, I can say after seeing this campaign trailer that this is definitely an open world game where you can free roam at your own pace, which I'm really happy about. I do wonder how this is going to work in-game though. Is it going to work like Destiny or GTA 5 where you have the ability to free roam the whole area all the time and you just go to your objective? Or will it be like Halo 3 ODST in New Mombasa Streets, where you still have your missions and only a small section of that open world is available to free roam to prevent you from getting stuck on the other side of the ring or map or whatever it may be, where you can then look up and see your objective above you on the other end of the ring? If this is going to be the case, I do hope that when you complete the campaign that you have a free roam mode where you can go and explore the entire ring without any objectives or limits like they did in ODST. The music in this trailer is also amazing as well. Not that it wasn't before, but something I always praised Bungie for was using music to give the game so much atmosphere, and you really didn't have that much with Halo 4 and 5. Now, don't get me wrong, the music was good, but it didn't have that atmospheric punch that Bungie's games always did. Also, did anyone notice that as the Pelican flew by, the music sounds a lot like the Flood theme from Halo CE?
The heart of Halo is Spartan 117, the Master Chief.
So that means that the Flood could play a part in this game, and if it is, fully along with it. We then get to see the Master Chief in the back of the Pelican, and my god, his armor looks 100 times better than it did in July last year. so much more detail with dense scratches, better quality normals, and overall better texturing. The only thing I would say is that his visor looks a little bit dark, a little too dark. However, this entire sequence with Chief is in very dark environments, so in daylight it would probably look so much better, and because of this I cannot wait to see his armor in all of its glory in full light of day. A small note before that I want to make is that before the Chief jumps out of the Pelican, the pilot starts talking, and the AI dock at the back of his helmet lights up green. Now, I think this is a comm status light. However, analysing this clip, I couldn't see any other parts where the pilot was talking and the dock was lit green. Now, if that is the case, it would be a neat detail, but if it's not, I wonder what that's for. Also, what would the need of having a light detail on the back of the helmet be for if the game was an FPS? So maybe we'll get a third person mode possibly. Also really like Chief's animation work in this. He walks around really naturally and it looks so real lifelike. My only slight complaint is that when he's moving around in space, it feels like he is clunking around a lot and it's not very smooth. However, it could be because he's in space and that's how his suit works with it, so it's not a massive complaint. Then we end up in a room that looks very Forerunner, and we see a Cortana Ai. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm going to be calling her Cortana 2, or this Cortana and original Cortana, because we don't actually have the official name for her just yet. Now, this Cortana looks good, however, she still looks very flat, especially her clothes. Now, if you look at Isabella in Halo Wars 2, she seems a lot more detailed, a lot more lifelike, whereas this Cortana looks a bit cartoony. And maybe it's because I'm comparing her too much to the original Cortana, when this one is clearly more of an up-to-date version of Cortana with better hardware and firmware. Now, also, her facial animations are a lot more detailed than what they have been in other Halo games. And while I do like it, it's not something that I'm used to seeing, and it did throw me off a little bit, but I think it's something I can accept once I get used to it. This Cortana also seems to have a very different personality to the other one. She seems to have more of a talkative and bubbly personality, whereas the other Cortana was always just talking to you about objectives and points of interest, rather than having a normal conversation with you about what's going on around you, and what that could end up leading up to in the future. However, I do have to give it to Jen Taylor, not only having her work cut out for not only voicing Halsey, but two Cortanas with different personalities. I think it's a credit to her voice acting ability, and I'm really looking forward to hearing her different voices in this game. This scene also mentions Cortana being deleted, but not by Chief in the way that it should have happened, and this would explain why the Banished have been the centre focus of the game so far. It's been teased that Cortana's story is a mystery that you've got to solve across the ring. I just hope they don't push the story to the side and put too much focus on the Banished and how to defeat them. Now we move on to multiplayer, and the first thing that you'll see is the different armor coatings, and in different colours as well. Now, we've heard that you have to pay for armor coatings, and people are complaining there's no colour customization, and that is a fair complaint. However, after seeing this reveal, I think that you buy armor coatings as a design, and then choose what colour you want them to be in customization menus. We also see a variety of different weapons in this reveal as well, both what we've seen before, like the Bulldog and the BR, as well as ones we haven't seen, like the Harpoon weapon and that Forerunner type weapon I don't actually know what it's called. Some of the weapons do look really good in detail, like the BR and the AR. However, there are a couple that I saw, like the Gravity Hammer and the Bulldog, that still look very flat and undetailed. It could be just to do with the lighting, but I thought they could do with a bit more detail. The armor abilities are also really cool as well. They look to be pickups rather than something you equip in your loadouts, which I'm very happy about, because then you could end up having a stalemate with people playing ping pong with a plasma laser deflecting back and forth to each other. And yes, that's an actual armor ability, by the way, which looks sick. Another armor ability is a throwable that allows you to see players through a wall. I also wonder how many of these abilities will play a part in the campaign as well. If you need different abilities for different missions or different areas of the map. Now, because of the armor abilities, I can see the multiplayer being very tactical by using your abilities and weapons and choosing which fights you can win and what abilities and which ones you can't. Then, rather than the point and shoot mechanics we've had in Halo 4 and 5. Now, while Halo 4 and 5 did have arm abilities, they weren't varied enough to make the gameplay interesting, whereas I can see this game's multiplayer being very interesting and entertaining to play. We also get to look at a new Spartan commander called Lorette, who seems to be replacing Palmer as fireteam leader. However, I do think that Palmer is going to play another role either as Lasky's bodyguard or holds his security in Halo Infinite. However, we see Commander Lorette's face, and it's the first face and the only human face that we see in this reveal, and my god, if this is the standard that 343 are going for, I have little to worry about as far as the way this game's going to look. When I saw this trailer in 4K, I thought they were actually using Epic Games' meta-human creator for this face, but apparently not, and if that is the standard that they're going for, I have little to complain about. Spartan death sounds are also different between different players, whereas in before Halo games, it's very typical before to have death sounds in the game that were the same ones that the Chief uses in the campaign voiced by Steve Downs, and if they are different, I think it'd be a nice touch. Maybe you can change your firefight voice like you can in Halo Reach, maybe not, I don't know. Ragdolls in this game seem to have a lot more bones in them, and what this means is that when you kill somebody, they'll flop around and die in a more spectacular fashion, should I say, than before. If you remember in Halo 3 and 4, when you die, your bones go stiff, and it doesn't look very natural, and this doesn't look like the case here. You're also supposedly going to have your own personal AI for matchmaking, which is going to be interesting to see how that works, and how that's going to integrate in multiplayer matches. We also get our first look at the grapple jacking and Big Team Battle, and while Big Team Battle looks really good and a lot of fun, I can't help but think that grapple jacking is going to get annoying. I hope the ability to grapple jump and to grapple jack is going to be made difficult, and you have to time it right before you're able to do it. Otherwise, I can see it getting annoying if as soon as you enter a vehicle, someone is there right behind you to grapple jack you. Item drop-offs are going to be done by Pelican as well, rather than spawning, from what we have seen so far. This I really like. I haven't been a fan of the random spawning of vehicles and weapons in Halo multiplayer, or any multiplayer for that matter. It just takes away the naturalistic feel of the game, and it means that players can camp at spawning locations to use the vehicles, but if they've been dropped in the middle of a battlefield, it means players have to fight to use them. Last, we move on to details in the blog post. Now, we see through that there are a number of different screenshots of multiplayer, and while they look good, there isn't really much to say other than that about them. I do, however, get some CSGO and Apex Legends vibes from them, however. Now, the big thing in this is that we have confirmation of bots in custom games, so we can create our own games and train with bots, and we could possibly end up with something like Halo Reach's Firefight and even more customization. The icing on the cake will be having bots in Forge, however, but this isn't confirmed. They've also said that bots will fill the spots of AFK players, which is an interesting idea. However, they will have to set the bots at a high enough difficulty so they're actually as good as an actual player. Otherwise, they'll be killed too easy, and it can end up being more of a hindrance than a help in some cases. They also say that multiplayer is going to have a season-like system, much like Halo MCC, which just goes to show that MCC is being a tester point for Halo Infinite all this time. There's also a strong point made that there is no pay-to-win system and only microtransactions for customization, which is a nice touch and one that is very welcome, although expected. They then go into detail about the customization elements, including helmet, visor, gloves, shoulder pads, and more, which is very reminiscent of Halo Reach, but with more detail in choosing parts. Armor coatings are also going to apply to weapons and vehicles, and then thinking back to an Inside Infinite from before, we did see weapons with some coatings on them, and I said I really hope that these can be changed, and it turns out they can, which is really good. Lastly, they are adding a new friend or foe system, which uses outlines and custom colours for objectives, bases and hostiles. So you can show off your armor coatings and colours regardless of which games you play, which makes sense considering you're paying for something that only you can see in your customization menu unless you're playing free for all. However, I cannot tell you how long I've been waiting for this feature in Halo, There is nothing that annoys me more about Halo's multiplayer than spending ages customizing your Spartan, but only you can see it in the customization or in free-for-all. So this is a very welcome addition and one that I've wanted for Halo for so long. So that is about what I have time for in this video here. There's a lot more that I can unpick in this in these trailers, but I just wanted to go over the main big things that I've seen. Otherwise, this video's gone on for 15 minutes already, so I don't want to have it go on for any longer than it needs. So I just want to get to the point, go over the big things that I've seen and share my thoughts on it. So yeah, so I'm beyond hyped for this game now. I don't know whether it's actually coming November 15th. I'm pretty sure it is, although we haven't actually any official confirmation. Throughout this next couple, well, this actual week, I'm gonna hope to get this video out on the Monday, the 14th. It might be Tuesday, depending on how quickly I can get this edited and exported. But this entire week is going to be more Halo Infinite news in regards to the multiplayer. If anything interesting actually does come up that could mean that I make a video on it, then I will absolutely do so. But judging by the schedule they've got, I don't think so. But we're also going to be getting our Inside Infinites from next month onwards. So if anything comes in for those, then I will, and anything new information that's actually worth making a video on comes to play, I will make a video on it, obviously. So yeah, that is about enough time for this little video about Halo Infinite here. Again, this, like I said at the start, these reveal trailers have made me so hyped for this game beyond belief, and I think this is my most anticipated game that I've ever had since starting gaming, and that's surprising considering Battlefront 2, I was so hyped for that game to release, and this game is topped that easily. So anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy, don't forget to smash that like button and hit the subscribe button for more awesome gaming content or video content of whatever structure. And I shall see you all later. Bye.